about Leopold's Book Bar Cafe. It's Madison's bookstore for night owls, open till midnight every night. They've got lunch now, and starting next month, dinner next door at their sister restaurant, Fabiola's Spaghetti House and Deli. Leopold's is also perfect for holiday gifts, by the way, with over 5,000 books and hundreds of wines. Head over to Greenbush and stop in at Leopold's. Today on City Cast Madison. It's Thursday, so of course, we're dishing on Madison's food scene. You know a good antidote to the current bitter cold weather? A hot cup of coffee. Better yet, a great hot cup of coffee. Madison's got world-renowned coffee roasters right in our midst and standout, frankly beautiful coffee shops. Might you be looking for a new Madison cafe to call your own? Or switch it up and try something new? Ashley Rodriguez is the writer of the Boss Barista newsletter, and she's got educated recommendations. It's Thursday, December 14th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Ashley, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am very, very good. I'm excited to get some expert advice on coffee and Madison. What a fun topic.
Oh, I hope I can provide the information that people are looking for.
So right off the bat, what's the best coffee shop just to get a fresh cup of joe?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I think I have to preface this by saying that the coffee community is very small, so it'll be very hard for me to give unbiased opinions just because everybody knows everybody. Everybody's friends with each other.
Yeah.
And one of my closest friends owns a coffee shop in the square called Bradbury's. So I go there pretty often.
Is that your best coffee shop for a fresh cup of joe?
Yeah. For sure. Especially if it's not in my neighborhood. So that's definitely a place that I'm destination going to drive to. But for people who are just I want a hot cup of coffee, I'm a big proponent of neighborhoods. Go to your neighborhood coffee shop, walk. If you don't live within walking distance, find something that's in your neighborhood because that's going to be the most satisfying cup of coffee. And in my neighborhood, Reveille just opened up.
Yeah, talk about Reverie, because I haven't heard from anyone who's been in Reverie yet.
Super new. They just opened, I want to say 6 or 7 months ago, maybe a little bit later than that. I'm not 100% sure, but it's by some of the folks behind Johnson Public House and Kin. So they're roasting in the facility too. So it smells incredible every time you go in. And then the baked goods that they have are 20 out of 10 exceptional. But it's a 10-minute walk from my house. So I go there a lot too.
Yeah, it truly is a small community. I want to ask you, since you are a connoisseur, I don't know why I said it that way, but we're going to roll with it. Thank you. How do you measure quality?
That's a good question. For me, quality is flavor. So the more nuanced flavor you can get out of a coffee, the better quality it is. And quality is a moving target. My definition of quality is going to be different than your definition of quality because we're all looking for different things. I've worked in coffee for over 10 years. So the things that I'm going to taste in coffee are going to be different.
Is it the taste, it's literally some notes or something, almost like wine?
Kind of like that, but I would even not even focus so much on the notes, you know what I mean? Because I think that those can be misleading too. Because how disappointing is it when you drink a glass of wine and it says notes of blackberry and you're I don't taste that. But that's disappointing. And the same is true in coffee. But I think it's the idea that there's clarity and there's pleasantness. So being able to taste the coffee and be this tastes good to me, even if I can't identify what the flavors are, because even 90% of the time, I might taste something and my partner might taste something totally different. We both have worked in coffee.
I love that. So it's I feel I know what you mean by that. Is the opposite of that a muddied coffee?
Yeah, muddy, oily.
Burnt is gross as heck.
Burnt is gross because as you roast coffee darker and darker, and this is not to say that the darker it is, the worse it is. That's not quite it. But when you roast it really dark, when you burn the coffee, like that's all you're going to taste is like char, ashiness, smokiness. And some people really like that. Don't get me wrong. Like if that's you, do you. But on kind of the opposite end of that spectrum is when you get a lot of flavor clarity. And that's what I'm looking for when I'm looking for quality, because that's really where the quality of the bean is really allowed to shine versus like the roast kind of overtaking it. And again, that's you, do you. But that's just not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, my go-to corner store over here, he was just telling me about, he's like, I had a customer in here who said, I just have something for gas station coffee. It's just, and that's a mood. I actually sometimes have that mood.
Totally. And there's moments where like coffee is so nostalgic for people. It evokes so many memories. It's one of the things that like you drink every day. It's maybe the only thing you drink every day besides like water or maybe like some other beverages. So like there are really strong mental associations too. And if I'm like at the airport or something, like you bet I'm going to get like Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Like, you know, no shade in that game either.
Yes. Oh my God. Love that. Airport, that is a category. We might come back to that, but there's so many categories to get into. What about fast? Quality, reliable, and fast.
I think that most coffee shops that I visit in Madison are generally pretty quick, which is nice. And it really kind of just depends on what you order. Like,
well, maybe that's the thing.
Yeah.
Because like drip, sometimes you want a quality and the drip coffee is like, well, this might take a minute.
Right. So like if I'm ordering a drip coffee, like, and I know that that's like the thing I want, that's fast because it's generally ready. And the places that I go to, like Domestique, Johnson Public House, Bradbury's, all have drip ready to go. So I know that I can just pop in, order a drip. I'm good to go.
Nice. Because I was out in LA at some point and I remember being like, I made a mistake. I've ordered something and I have to wait and watch it drip.
I know. It's funny to see people order a pour over and they want it fast. And I'm like, that's not
how it works, girl.
That's not how that one works. Like that one takes a minute.
Yeah. Well, what about the treat yourself arena? Like, where do you go when you want to get fancy?
So there's a coffee shop that I absolutely love called Broken Board, and it's inside of a skate shop. It's on the east side, and I have never had better signature drinks than the ones I've had at Broken Board. So every season, Jared, who's the owner, he like changes up the menu with these like beautiful like cocktail kind of inspired drinks. He used to work in the restaurant industry. And I went there on Saturday and I had such a delicious latte, and I never order lattes. And it was like spiced with cardamom and sage, and it was like chef's kiss. It was so good.
Oh my gosh. Cardamom, that's like health points too.
I know, health is wealth, you guys. Like, but it was so it was so good. And one thing that I really like about the drinks that Jared makes is that there's usually like a milk-based drink, and most signature drinks are like espresso, milk, and then like some sort of flavoring, which is great. But then he also makes all of these like tonics as well that don't have milk, so are generally based around like tonic water and some other like syrups and flavorings that he makes in-house. Like all of them are made in-house, so they taste incredible. But sometimes I don't want a milk drink, so having that option to get a tonic is also really lovely.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I've definitely heard good things as well. So it's exciting to hear that recommendation. I like to get fancy. For me, I consider, even though I go there a lot, I consider Bradbury's a treat.
Bradbury's makes their own ice cream. So if you get an affogato, which is espresso poured over ice cream, that's also a fancy little treat for you.
Oh, indeed. I love an affogato. I'm glad to know this. I have not gotten one from Bradbury's. Like, what about shops that you just like love the interior and that's the gift, to drink your coffee in them because they're beautiful?
I love sitting outside of the North Street Domestique. Like, that is my favorite place to be. The outside area is so beautiful, and it's such a great people watching spot too.
Yeah.
Leopold is lovely, and it has that beautiful old espresso machine. Like, yeah, and I love the bar, like the bar that you can sit around. That's what I want. I want more coffee shops with like a bar.
It's gorgeous. It's almost like, it reminds me, if anyone's, if any of you listening, been to Sardine, probably some of you have, but it's got another great bar and a beautiful espresso like display. They also have good coffee for what it's worth.
They do. They have great coffee. Sardine has great coffee, and so does Mitmark in terms of restaurants that have great coffee.
Okay. how about coffee shops for focus, like getting some work done?
That's a great question. There's a little coffee shop on University called Valentia, I believe, and it's like a study haven. And for a minute, I was like, oh, I don't know about this place, but I actually had like a pretty delicious shot of espresso. They did give it to me in an 8-ounce cup, which is, I was like, oh, this is big. That's fine.
Funny. Yeah.
But it was really delicious. And I think they use JBC coffee, and it's like one of those places that's like known to be like a student like study space. So it's both like quiet, but also buzzing. Like there are people talking and having fun conversations, but at the same time, you see people like doing work. Another place that I actually really like, and the vibes feel really immaculate, is Ford Coffee. That's just a craft coffee and beer bar. And every time I walk by there, I see people reading books, people studying, people having like really engaging conversations, and also people playing games. And that just feels like the vibe is like, that's like the ideal coffee shop. That's like the picture perfect, like what you want to see. You want to see everyone kind of doing a little bit of everything. Because when you walk into a coffee shop and everybody's on their computer, that can feel a little bit like
intimidating.
Oh, I can't even like talk at all.
Right.
I really like the vibe there. They've done something really spectacular to encourage people to kind of take all kinds of interactions, which is really cool.
Yeah, our newsletter editor, Haley Sperling, was telling me all about Forward and sent pictures. Like, oh my gosh, this is really cute. I haven't been in there. But I was thinking of a coffee shop, one of my favorites, Mother Fool's Coffee House on Williamson Street.
Oh, yeah. That's like perfect old school, like comfy, cozy coffee shop. And they're open late, I think, too.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't mean to stereotype it or something, but my guess is there are a lot of grad students in there. But it's definitely quiet. Like I've tried to play chess and I was too rowdy. No one told me I was too rowdy.
They're like, keep it down, please.
Yeah, like it was really funny because you want to be respectful. So speaking of places that you want to get coffee and have fun and maybe some laughter with friends, where are some good coffee shops for hanging out and catching up?
I always invite people to Domestique on the north side when I'm like wanting to vibe. If I want a treat, I'll go to the one on Willie Street because Batch is right next to it. I also really like Madison Sourdough. That always feels like a scene too, you know, like watching people like
coffee.
Order. And they have great coffee and they also have great treats. And like I think if you're like hanging out with friends, like you want the option to have like a little treat for you.
True.
So I really like going to Madison Sourdough for that kind of stuff too.
Yes. I feel like Leopold's, that's a place I take friends. Good coffee. Do you know about any other new coffee shops that opened up this year?
I feel like North Street opened up last year. Broken Board is like pandemic-y new. Like sometime in the pandemic, I believe they opened.
Is North Street the very poppin'?
Yeah, I actually wrote an article about the North Street location for Isthmus.
It's quite the scene.
It's quite the scene. It's like kind of the perfect little corner too. Like I think it's North Street and Commercial it's on. So they have this like industrial complex. And inside there is a Cafe Domestique. The original location's on Willie Street. So they have their second location there. And then there's also a Young Blood brewing company like bar area. And then Bloom Coffee Shop also has like a little counter there as well. So you can kind of get the best of everything. You can get a treat. You can go from coffee to beer.
Yeah, depending on when you go.
Depending on when you go. And then across the street, there's Tip Top, which I love. That's one of my favorite bars. And then there is, I think, Ogden's.
Yeah, the breakfast spot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like got everything you need.
It's a little utopia over there. If you haven't been, definitely go check that out. Are there any other like hidden gems you might be sitting on?
I feel like Broken Board is like the hiddenness of gems because like you really have to go there. It's in a strip mall. It's in a skate shop. It's way on the east side, but it's so worth it. It's like one of those, it's like, God, this feels like such a Madison thing. Like when I go to Target on the east side, that's usually where I end up. I'm trying to think of some other hidden gems though. One thing that I don't feel as well versed on, I live on the east side, is I don't know as much about west side coffee shops, but I feel like the east side's kind of kicking the west side's butt a little bit. Just putting the vibes out there.
I feel like Yeah, I definitely, in terms of the East Side, part of me is like, I wonder if we will assume, like, because it's our side of town.
Yeah.
But I will say there are tons of coffee shop, including like Cargo Coffee and including Black Locust Coffee, like East Washington shops.
East Washington has a lot.
I almost want to talk about like the not so hidden gems, or like this might be a hangover for me from college that I still like have ordered it literal delivered to me. And this is more about the breakfast sandwich, but Michelangelo's.
Oh, that makes sense.
There's nostalgia too for that one for me.
Yeah, and it's also like a scene too. Like it's like a place where like you see like people studying and it's late night, and like I love that vibe too. Another place that I think that is really beautiful inside, now that I think about it, is the Wonder State on the square. That place is really stunning and beautiful.
Oh,
and I have to
yeah, I've heard
and they
about
also
it.
have really great food too.
That is so good. That is very, very good. One of the like not so hidden gems I just like feel like I have to ask you about is because we've had a jovial rumble about it on our team around Mocha on East Washington.
I have never been there.
Okay. Well, it's like kind of like a chain.
Is it automated? Are there baristas in it?
There are baristas, and I just go because it's like totally gross Parks and Rec level like indulgence of for me. I get a quad mocha.
That's a treat. That's a treat.
Literally.
But you can't. That's the thing. That's what like I want. Okay, so like this is me maybe soapboxing a little bit, but I think it's really easy to like kind of paint baristas as like pretentious or hip, and like that's not unwarranted. Like that's happens. But like I think the biggest thing that I try to tell people about coffee is that like what you like is good. Like what you like is good.
Yes.
Do not try to like conform to something that you think should be good if you don't like it. And I am never hurt by like people being like, I just want my latte to be really sugary. Awesome. Good for you. Like I love 20 ounce, like quad whatevers. Like awesome.
Live your life.
Live your life. Like life is too short.
Look, I've got range.
Yeah. Like I can drink a double shot of espresso like one day, and then I can drink like, you know, like a venti soy latte with sugar-free vanilla, like whatever nonsense you want to put in another day.
We contain multitudes.
We contain multitudes.
And speaking of liking other things, what about best coffee shops for tea?
Oh my goodness. So in general, for me, I think the rule of thumb is if people make really great coffee, they're going to make really great tea because they're going to care to that extent. So for me, I'm looking for places that like brew loose leaf tea or have like some sort of protocol around it. Like you'll see them like actually brewing it, or maybe giving you instructions on like put the tea bag in for like 3 to 5 minutes or something like that. So I've gone to Domestique and had some really beautiful teas there as well. Pretty much everything that I've named as a coffee shop is probably a really good tea spot. One place I haven't been to is it's right next to Robin Room, and it's like a tea parlor.
Tea cider.
Yeah, I've never been there, but it looks incredible. And it looks like they really take tea very seriously there.
They do. And it's beautiful, beautiful tea. And they do like trainings and stuff like that.
That's super cool.
And this is my last question for you before we let you go. But like, where are the best spots to buy a bag of beans?
Oh, definitely Bradbury's. Circle it right back around. Well, because Trevor always brings in all of these like roasters from all over the world. So if you want something that's totally unique or different, like go to Bradbury's every couple of weeks and you'll see something new. And then there's always like the standards too. So if you want something that's like consistent every week, there's always Ruby Coffee, and they have a specific blend that's specific to Bradbury's as well, called Bradbury's Blend. But like I'll go in and I'll see stuff from like George Howell, which is a roaster in Massachusetts. I'll see stuff from like Kopi, which is a roaster in Denmark. So like you can really kind of like explore the world of coffee roasting just by buying a couple of bags of beans from Bradbury's.
So go check out Trevor's spot, Bradbury's. If you
I swear to God, every time I go on anything, I go to a restaurant, someone knows Trevor. I got my haircut, they know Trevor.
He's a sweetheart. And really, truly, I back up that recommendation. Ashley, thank you so much. It has been a total delight.
Thank you for having me.
That's Ashley Rodriguez, writer of the Boss Barista newsletter and host of the Boss Barista podcast. That's all for today here on City Cast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with that person in your life who just won't talk to anyone before their coffee? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, stay warm.